Hello Dragon Ball fan that clicked on this video, and I'm glad you did, because today we're going to be talking about two amazing villains in the Dragon Ball universe. Frieza, the monkey-hating emperor, and Cell, the perfect organism. One debate about these two I always hear in the Dragon Ball community is, why was Frieza picked over Cell in Tournament of Power? This is the debate that I finally want to settle once and for all. This video is going to be broken down into two separate parts. In the first part, we're going to be covering the basic and obvious reasons as to why Frieza was chosen over Cell. This will include all of the painfully obvious reasons that I can think of why Goku and Universe 7 chose the option that they did. The second part of this video is going to be truly getting into the specifics of who's the better choice for the tournament. This will totally disregard the obvious reasons and get into the true characteristics of these two fighters. You're not going to want to miss it, since it includes a lot of interesting ideas for the potential future of the Dragon Ball Super series. And with that, let's get right into part 1 of this debate. Point number 1. Frieza is the more recent fighter. This is perhaps the most obvious point of this video, but Frieza is clearly the correct pick. The last time the Z fighters have seen Cell was literally over 17 years ago in the Dragon Ball timeline. For reference, Goku was around age 30 meeting Cell, and around age 47 when entering the Tournament of Power. Goku can barely remember that he has a wife or a second son. Do you really think that he's going to remember Cell in such a dire moment? On the other hand, Resurrection F was estimated to be just around a year before the Tournament of Power, which is much more memorable for the Saiyan with brain damage. Point number 2. Frieza is currently the stronger of the two. Another obvious point, but the capabilities of Golden Frieza far outscales the likes of Cell, even at the end of the Cell saga, when he received his perfect form from his Saiyan genetics after blowing himself up to shreds at King Kai's place. During Resurrection F, Golden Frieza scales to slightly under the Super Saiyan Blue form. This gap only gets closer during the Tournament of Power arc, since Frieza most likely was able to get stronger in Hell after dying to Goku. This could have been due to either his Frost Demon genetics or his mutant genetics. On the other hand, Perfect Cell only scales to slightly under Super Saiyan 2. To make matters worse, this was a very unperfected Super Saiyan 2 that Gohan tapped into for the first time ever during their fight. Safe to say, with nobody truly worthy to fight in Hell, Cell probably hasn't gotten much stronger in comparison to Frieza during his stay in Hell. This is entirely theoretical, but I guess he's done some sort of training there, so he's most likely somewhere around Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 level. Point number 3. It's kinda stupid, but I wanted to include it because it's kinda funny. The trauma factor. So yeah, Frieza's done some horrible things to the Saiyans and the Z fighters, but honestly, let's be real here. Goku didn't know any of these other Saiyans, and Vegeta didn't care about his family, so honestly, it's not too crazy to think that he would be selected for the team. I mean, he did kill that one bald dude on planet Namek, but I think they can simply forget about that one for the time being. For Cell, this is an entirely different story. Cell's infected trauma on both the Saiyan families of Earth. For Vegeta's family, it was Future Trunks. The androids made this world a living hell, and killed almost every friend and family member he had, and let's be honest, there wasn't really a reason for it. It was just sort of for fun. Now, you might be saying, wait, that was Android 17 and 18, not Cell. Which is a great point, but he still blasted Future Trunks directly through the sternum, which is something to note. I mean, Vegeta did get pretty mad. And for Goku's family, it was literally Goku. If you didn't already know that, then I don't really know why you're watching this, but yeah, Cell blew up Goku, so that's definitely some trauma to note. Gohan has no father in his prime adolescent years, Goten was born without a father entirely, and Chi-Chi had to be a single mom for two aliens for like 7-ish years. So yeah, Cell's definitely not a popular household name in the Sun residence. Alright, with all the boring stuff out of the way, this is where the fun begins. Part 2 of the video, the breakdown between our two fighter options. For this, I'm going to break down the two with an array of stats, death battle style. The 5 stats will be power and potential power, fighting technique, defense, hacks, and to be honest, I really only thought of 4 different stat categories, but 5 sounds good. So let's go with teamwork. Yeah, teamwork. We're going to go in order here, so the first one's going to be power, which is by far the longest yap sesh, but it's definitely vital for this video, and very interesting. If we're going to be boring here, I would just say Golden Frieza wins, because he's stronger than Perfect Cell. But we're not going to do that here. We're going to get a little theoretical here, using 2 very key elements before the tournament. The 2 days they had before the tournament, And who else but the hyperbolic time chamber? Since Frieza was already way ahead of the majority of the people in the tournament, this wasn't needed. But for Cell, who hasn't been buffed by the stupid Dragon Ball Super power scaling system yet, this is definitely a possibility. Now here's where we get a little theoretical. Cell has a lot of opportunities here. I choose two paths that are probably possible, one path that isn't very possible, but hey, you never know, and one path that would probably be the one that gets implemented. The first two I'll introduce together. This is Super Saiyan God Cell, which honestly looks a little similar to Cell Max and Golden Cell. Since Cell has the DNA and genetics of multiple Saiyans and possibly multiple Frost Demons, I kinda forgot about if King Cold had his DNA yanked by Jiro's bug robots, but regardless, he has at least Frieza's DNA. Super Saiyan God Cell can definitely be attainable since Cell has Vegeta's DNA, and he's a prime example of a Saiyan that achieves Super Saiyan God without necessarily needing a ritual for it. This is the same case for Golden Cell, since Frieza was able to achieve this form with 4 simple months of training. Like I said earlier, these are two paths that could happen, but it's probably not the path that would. I'll elaborate on that during the fourth path. The third path, which is the one that probably would not happen, but damn would it be cool if it did. This form is Beast Cell. This is of course due to the DNA and genetics he received from the hybrid Saiyan Gohan, who is already said to have absolutely insane potential. I also believe that this form would be the strongest out of the 4 options, which is sad because it's probably the least attainable one. The info about this form is still up in the air, but there's still a high chance this form was achieved by Gohan's potential mixed with the encounter with the Supreme Kais, more specifically Old Kai. Him being able to unlock Gohan's latent potential could be a big reason that Gohan was ever able to achieve this form in the first place, but then again, maybe not, because we're not even certain that this form has God Ki or not. But one thing I do know is that the potential performance is probably not being performed on an evil being like Cell. Alright, I've hyped it up enough. The final and most believable form of Cell would clearly be Orange Cell. And this is why. Let's be real, Cell is probably not gaining any of these 3 previous forms in time for the Tournament of Power, since he does only have 2 days or 2 years in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. This is due to him being a mutt. Since this is the case, he's going to have a much harder time achieving these forms in comparison to their canon counterparts. But Orange form, this is basically given to Piccolo on a silver, or should I say green platter. This was said to be due to Piccolo being a Namekian, which is the demon race with the deepest ties to the Dragon Balls. And in case you forgot, Cell's part Namekian. This is Cell's greatest chance to get into some of that Dragon Ball Super power scaling. And although this is a bit anticlimactic, I still think that Frieza would win this category by a thin margin. This is again due to Cell being only part Namekian. When Piccolo got his form, Shenron said he, quote, granted him a little extra, beyond his original wish. This most likely wouldn't be the case for Cell. And with that, round 1, the longest round by far by the way, is over. The next category is fighting technique. I'm going to cover Cell here first. I would go so far to say that Cell would have the most fighting technique of any of the fighters in the 7th Universe team, possibly even the whole tournament. This is because he's a dirty thief. Before he was even out of his incubation chamber, he already was programmed by Jiro to have all the fighting techniques and counters of the Z fighters. This includes veteran martial artists like Goku, Tien, Master Roshi, and Krillin, along with many more. On Team Frieza, there's not much going on. Frieza lived a very lazy lifestyle before his training arc to get to Golden Frieza, and he probably wasn't actually learning much. It's much more believable that he was just practicing the small moveset he already had. For this reason, this category is pretty much a wash for Team Cell. The third round is going to be defensive capabilities. Frieza is going to lead this one off. Frieza is a bit of an oddball when comparing the big 3 in terms of villains of Dragon Ball Z. This is due to him not being able to regenerate. But one thing Frieza does have is durability. This was especially shown off during 2 parts in the Dragon Ball series, Namek Saga and Resurrection F. In the Namek Saga, Frieza was truly a force to be reckoned with. Frieza and Goku were throwing straight hands with the occasional break to scream for like 20 episodes straight. I swear, this guy just never runs out of stamina. Near the end of this battle, Frieza has no legs, no tail, no left hand, and half a torso, and he's still able to send one last FU to Goku by shooting a blast at him. In Resurrection F, This durability is further increased by his introduction in the arc. When he's brought back using the Dragon Balls, he's literally just a pile of flesh. But somehow, he's still alive. How is this even possible? So yeah, he doesn't have regeneration, but his durability and persistence to live is definitely off the charts. Cell, on the other hand, has his handy Namekian genes to take advantage of. This gives him the ability to regenerate limbs and even his entire body. As long as Cell still has a cell functional, he's able to bring himself back to fighting condition. Until he can't. It's proven many times in the series that Namekians lose a significant amount of energy and stamina when they regrow limbs. And this is probably the case for Cell. For this reason, Frieza surprisingly wins this category. I bet you're a bit confused, so I'll elaborate. This is because of the tournament rules. First off, the tournament does not allow killing, so enemies aren't really trying to end lives, they're mostly trying to just throw you out of the ring so they can win. And second, the tournament is only around 45 minutes long. Conserving energy is very important here, and for these reasons, I personally believe Frieza wins this category. The fourth round is hacks, or hacks, I don't really know how to spell it. I see a lot of sweaty nerds on the internet saying hacks or spelling hacks, so I'm gonna go with that. Frieza doesn't have a ton in the hacks department, but the ones he does have are extremely valuable in a setting like the Tournament of Power. The first and most useful hack is his insane intellect. Strategy is key here, and nobody is better at thinking in the moment than Frieza. The second thing I would like to put for Frieza's hacks is his ki manipulation and psychokinesis. These are two very important powers that will definitely come in handy, holding people in place, throwing them out of the ring, and most importantly, having a diverse array of ki techniques that will throw your opponent off guard is nothing to scoff at. Alright, let's talk about Cell here. I'm not going to go too deep into Cell's cause there's a lot, and I mean a lot. Realistically, he has all the known abilities of the Z Fighters, the Namekians, and Frieza up until the Cell Saga. But the one ability that completely changes the game as well as gives Cell the win for this round is a unique power only known to him. Cell Juniors. Having these little guys in the tournament would absolutely change the entire course of it. If Universe 3 can fuse to create Analyza, then who says that Cell can't produce a few children during the tournament? Another theoretical result of this is to simply just have Cell Jr. hide in the rubble while everyone fights, and just coming out at the end, sort of similar to what Android 17 did. Not to mention the buff, which would most likely be the orange form, this could possibly be passed on to the Cell Juniors, making them even more incredible. And finally, we reach the last round. Teamwork, yeah, teamwork! I'm gonna make this one quick, cause I got a bit too passionate and this video is getting a little long, but Frieza wins this one. He's had much more of a history with the other fighters in Universe 7, and again, with the whole trauma thing from part 1 of this video, there's much less of that with Frieza in comparison to Cell. The battle is officially over, and if you weren't keeping track of the score, I got you. Frieza won power and potential, Cell won fighting technique, Frieza won defense, Cell won hacks, and finally, Frieza won teamwork. The official score is 3-2, with Frieza as our official winner for the 10th slot of the Tournament of Power. Maybe the 7th universe made a good choice, maybe not. I guess we'll never know. Unless you guys do want a theoretical about this Cell scenario, so please leave a comment and leave a like on this video if you would be interested in a what-if scenario about this, because I got a pretty good idea cooking up, and I don't really know if anyone would ever be able to predict the ending of what I have. If you made it to the end of this video, I'd like to thank you for supporting the page, and feel free to subscribe to stick around for the next SS Jammo Theory video.